Hello, all of you beautiful people. Welcome to the Millennial Mastermind Podcast. This is our special Thanksgiving edition. Today is going to be a special episode. We're doing a solo episode. So if that's not your cup of tea, giving you the opportunity to peace out right now. Before we dive into it, though, I want to talk to you guys about an opportunity that I'm going to be offering just for the next week or so. I'm going to be taking on 1 or 2 new coaching clients, and this is for folks who are either looking to launch and grow their own podcast, or if you're looking for an accountability coach. Typically, my coaching services start at $500 a month. I'm offering for 1, maybe 2 people a super special offer of $100 a month. So if you're interested, shoot me an email at brad@millennialmm.com. We can hop on a quick call and see if it's the right fit for you. I want to make sure that I am definitely adding value to whoever I work with. So we'll do that first, just no commitment call to make sure that it's good fit on both sides. But diving into this week's episode, we've got Thanksgiving couple days away. Maybe you're listening to this after the holiday, still applicable. But the reason I wanted to record this episode is because, Thanksgiving it's an awesome concept. It's the holiday of gratitude. It's the one day of the year that everybody in the country is reminded to give thanks for all of the blessings in their lives. And if you followed the show for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of gratitude. But in all truth, every day should be a day of thanks for us. I mean, if you're able to listen to this podcast, there's a very good chance that you're living a very privileged life in a part of the world where, you don't have to worry about things like your daily safety, access to clean drinking water, public transportation, and food. Those things are like an afterthought. Right now, more people are living in peace than ever before. And I know that the news will try to make you think differently, but that's actually true. There's no time in history that we've had more access to information. You take out that phone in your pocket and you can plug right into the web, and you have access to more information now than governments had just a short, maybe few decades ago. It's pretty outrageous how available information, data, the ability to learn is. So we're living in a really wonderful time in human history. I mean, there's a damn lot to be grateful for. I want to really drive home that point that we can be grateful every day just for the things that are surrounding us that they're an afterthought for us. But, and there's always a but, despite the fact that we're living in such a great time, people are more anxious, more depressed, and more sad than ever. It's this weird dichotomy. On paper, it's the best time ever to be alive. But in reality, so many people feel like crap on a pretty regular basis. So what I'm thinking about this season of giving thanks is, why are we finding it so damn hard to be grateful? In reality, it's very easy to fall off the gratitude train. I mean, I'm all about gratitude. I'm always falling off it and climbing back on. So today, and in this episode, I really want to take a different angle at talking about gratitude. We've all heard, why you should practice gratitude. Hell, you've heard it on this podcast from me, from guests, time and time again. But instead, let's look at it a little bit differently. Let's talk about the reasons that it can be so dang hard to keep up with gratitude and keep this attitude of thanks in the forefront of our minds. And the reason I want to take a look at it from this angle and this different side of gratitude is that maybe if we understand some of the challenges that we face when it comes to being grateful, we can become more aware of them and then even proactively work to avoid or overcome them. So I want to dive into the 5 challenging realities of gratitude. And there could be more, but these are really the 5 when I sat down and I thought, pretty deeply about this. These are the 5 that really popped out to me. Let's dive into them, and then let's go through what we can actually do about them. So number 1, we're living in the age of comparison. Comparing yourselves and comparing ourselves to others and the people around us, this is not a new concept. This has been going on. This is a very human aspect of life. This has been going on for millennia. I'm sure as long as there's been people, they've looked around and compared themselves to the other people around them. But the thing is, it's just easier than ever and more accessible to see the highlights of everyone else's lives. When I was growing up, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there were these Christmas cards that certain people would send out, and they would include these letters. My mom loved to call them brag letters, but they would go through and talk about every family member. There'd be, the beautiful Christmas picture in the card, but then there'd be this letter included. They went through every family member and what their kind of highlights of the year, their achievements from the past year were. And it's cool, but sometimes in your face of like, oh, wow, look how great our lives were this year. That used to be once a year. Now, you pull up in your Instagram app and you see that every day, 24/7, you have a highlight reel of people's lives. And it's not just the people who are close enough to you to send a Christmas card that you actually want to know all the great things going on in their lives. It's people that you haven't talked to in years. It's some people that you've never talked to ever. You just somehow started following them. I know I've got those people. I don't know how I end up, connected to them, but next thing I know, I see how great their lives are and, the trip they've taken to the Poconos or whatever it is. So we're living in this age where it's just so easy to look at other people's lives and the great things that they have going on and just put ourselves in this mindset of comparison. The second challenge is that gratitude doesn't always come naturally. I would argue most, if not all of us, it's not our default setting, especially when we're experiencing challenges or struggles, and that takes us right into actually our third challenging reality of gratitude, which is practicing gratitude requires time and attention. If gratitude isn't our natural state, like we said in number 2, then in order to get to a place of, clicking into a grateful mindset, it takes practice, it takes repetition, it takes intention and dedicated time. And let's be honest, time can be hard to come by. The fourth challenging reality of gratitude is that life is hard. No matter who you are, what your situation is, where you're at in your life, shit happens. No one's life is without struggle. Whether or not they're putting it on their Instagram feed, no one has a perfect life that doesn't come without its own challenges, its own struggles, and things that person, that I face, that you face, they're all going to be different, but they're all going to be justified and equally as hard. Just because somebody has more money doesn't mean that they're not also facing challenges in their lives. So, this could be challenges financially, this could be challenges at work, in relationships, or any number of areas of life. But when things aren't going well, gratitude can be the last thing in our minds. And number 5, the truth is anxiety and depression are very real. Far too often, especially in the personal development world, it's overlooked that anxiety and depression are very real and can make it just about, I won't even say just about, they can make it impossible for those who are experiencing those things to truly feel grateful. So we hear so often in and out, especially in this world of personal development and self-improvement, is, practice gratitude. And it's very true, and we're going to go into how to overcome some of these 5 challenging realities. But I just wanted to take this episode to sit down and really reflect on these and address these, because it's not always so easy as just saying, okay, you know what? I'm somebody now who practices gratitude, and it changes your life. A lot of times there's some real shit that you got to work through and things that you have to be aware of that you have to address if you're really going to be honest with yourself, and going to be able to reap the benefits of practicing gratitude. So let's go through these 5 again, but this time, let's not just bitch and moan about them. Let's talk about what we can actually do about them. So we talked about the age of comparison, number 1. And no surprise here, social media is probably the biggest culprit of this. I am not inventing this concept. You can read any book on gratitude or stress or negative mindsets, any number of articles, listen to any number of podcasts, and you're going to hear that social media has, yes, many positives of bringing people together and connection, but also so many negatives, and especially when it comes to comparing ourselves to others. So what can you do about it? Well, one, and I'm in the midst of one of these right now, you could take a social media fast. I deleted the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter apps off of my phone. And what's amazing about it is what I found in the first day, the first hour of deleting those, is how often I'll just open my phone, and I even had them off into a separate folder that made it, one extra click to get there, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it at least requires one more click. How often I would just open that folder and just stare at it, and the apps weren't there. And I'm like, oh, can't go there, obviously. And I just close it out. And I'm like, I kept catching myself doing that. And I'm like, wow, how many times a day am I actually just pulling up these apps? Not because I have something that I need to do there, not because I'm going to post something positive, just because my mind, is looking to fill that gap in time. Maybe I'm, sitting, waiting for something in line or something, and my mind doesn't want to be bored for 1 second. So it automatically goes in that mode of checking that app. I highly encourage you guys to test this out. Just maybe commit to a 1-day social media fast. You don't even have to go crazy here, but you'll be pretty amazed if you're anything like me, how often you find yourself just going into that stuff just to fill a gap. And it's good to be bored. So give it a shot. Some other things you could do though, if you don't want to go all the way the route of social media fast, is notice the triggering influences who you follow. Are there certain people who are always posting things that make you feel, a little weird, or like you're comparing yourself a little bit? Maybe you unfollow or mute those negative influences, those negative triggers. And on the converse side, follow some people, follow some sources of positivity and gratitude. There's plenty out there. Prince Ea or EA, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry, Prince. That guy's great. He posts so much positive stuff. I love it. Hal Elrod, he's another friend of the show, but he's always posting positive stuff. Really great stuff. So find these people who are going to fill your timeline and your feed with positivity rather than these posts that automatically send you into comparison mode. So that's number 1, age of comparison. Number 2, gratitude doesn't always come naturally. I know a lot of people close to me that this is the fact. It's just that is not their default setting. But what we can do, and this was me for a long time, I should add, but what we can do is we can become aware of what that default setting is. Recognize, is your mind always going straight to the negative? Is it, instead of going to what you can be grateful for today, is it going to what went wrong? Here's a challenge. When you find yourself in small talk at the office or with friends, or your girlfriend's or wife's friend's husband who you don't get along with that well, something crazy like that, do you find yourself, when you're starting those small talk type conversations, always going to something negative? Because what I've realized is that people do naturally connect over the negativities. Like, for example, the weather sucks outside. Or, oh man, this one is for any of you Clevelanders out there. The Browns, they just sucked yesterday. Can't win a game. Like, those are the things that when I started paying attention to it, I realized how many of these conversations I was having that were just focused on complaining. Because you start complaining about something, even if it's about yourself and it's self-deprecating, it's just easier. People are connected to that much quicker because they're also in that negative default setting. So once you become aware of this and start looking for it, it'll blow your mind how many of the conversations that you start, but even the more so that you're in, that are revolving around these little tiny complaints, not doing any harm, but it's that negative default setting. So keep an eye out for that. And one way that if you do realize that this is the kind of the mode that you're stuck in, is try journaling. Because what happens when you journal, you just write down stream of consciousness thoughts, in the morning, at night, whenever you want to do it. If you can catch yourself where your mind goes, don't stop yourself. Let it flow. Let wherever your head goes flow, but you'll catch it a little bit more easily, because as you're writing it, and as you go back and you read what you wrote, you'll be like, that's interesting that, during this 10 minutes, I decided just to write out whatever popped into my mind. My mind went to that negative space, and you just become aware of it. You don't even have to focus on changing it right necessarily. Just become aware of it, and you'll start to realize that when you catch yourself in that mode, you can make adjustments. All right, so number 3, practicing gratitude requires time and intention. It's an unfortunate reality maybe, but it's the truth. Practicing anything requires time. So my advice, whenever it comes to time and struggling with time, is always kind of goes back to the same thing, and it's time blocking. Find the time, that it works best for you. Figure out when you want to practice your gratitude. You don't have to start big. It might just be, writing 3 things down. It might be spending 5 minutes thinking about what you're grateful for the day. It could be journaling, like I mentioned, in the morning or at night. It could be prayer. I know that's a piece of my gratitude practice, is just what I'm thanking God for. It could be a nightly discussion with your partner if they're into it. That's a great way to put you both in a positive mindset. But what is important here is not to necessarily measure your success on the activity and the outcome of it, I'm sorry, let me say that again. It is to measure your success on the activity, but not the outcome, not the results. So success, what I mean by that is, if you say that you're going to write down 3 things a day that you're grateful for, success is writing 3 things down. It's not the 3 things that you write down. It's not that you have the world's largest things to be grateful for. It's just the fact that you're doing it, or that you're praying, or that you're journaling, or talking about this with your spouse, whatever it might be. So make sure that you're time blocking and figuring out what time works best for you, and making it a non-negotiable, and set the bar low. I mean, if it's just spending 1 or 2 minutes a day on this, start low. You don't have to shoot for the stars right out of the gate. Number 4, life is hard. This is a challenging reality. Life is tough. Things come up. It's not always going to be easy. And when those tough things come up, it can definitely be hard to be in a mindset of gratitude. I know within my own life, there's been some personal struggles recently, and it kicks me right out of that. There's a few things, though, that I've learned over the years that I try to come back to when life is giving you a kick in the gut and things aren't easy. One is try to practice gratitude for the little things, trying to be thankful for just the small stuff. Okay, yeah, life handed me a lemon here, but there still are small things that I can be grateful for, no matter what challenges are going on. I can go to here's an example, go to the gas station and fill up my gas week in and week out. And yeah, sometimes I'm like, I wish there's more money in the bank account for this, but that's not the point. The fact is, there's nothing stopping me from filling up my gas tank. I've got a car to get to work in. These little things that we take for granted. We're bitching and moaning about going into this job that we hate, but we have a job. How many people would give so much to have a job, to have a car to get to that job? It's the little things. So practice gratitude for the little things. And the other thing that is really, could be a tough one to get used to, and takes time to realize that it's true, and takes tough times to realize it's true, but being grateful for your struggles. because, if you're any fan of studying successful people like I am, or reading their life stories or their self-published books, things that they talk about how they became good at what they're good at or what differentiates them. And I'm talking about the people who are really just standout individuals, like the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, like things like that. The things that really transform their lives are the challenges, the hard parts that they overcome, that they get through. Those events that knock them down, and the fact that they got knocked down is why they come back stronger than ever. So when hard things happen in your life, try to look at them and be grateful for those hard things, because every challenge brings us the opportunity for growth. And finally, the last challenging reality of gratitude: anxiety and depression are real. And I don't want to blow over this one, because I think that a lot of times there's the angle in the personal development world that, if you just work on yourself, if you just spend time working on yourself, it's true. You're going to get through this. You're going to fix this. And it is true. But I think there's so much power in talking to a professional. And maybe when you come out the other side of these things, it goes back to number 4 of life being hard. And maybe that becomes the challenge that presented that opportunity for growth and changed your life in profound ways that you couldn't expect. But, today, even if mental health is being talked about more than it ever has been, which is amazing, which is great, there's not that stigma around it as much. There still is, but as much as there had been in the past. Even so, it can still be really hard to allow yourself to make the first step of going and talking to a professional. And it's so important to give yourself the permission to do that and that outlet, because these are professionals who are trained to teach you some tactics and strategies to help you get through those tough times when life is hard and when you don't have those tools innately within you and you need a little bit of help. Or even the mildly challenging situations. Maybe you're not full-blown depression isn't plaguing you right now. You've just got some anxiety. There's still so many benefits of turning to a professional to overcome those struggles. So, this is definitely a challenging aspect when it comes to gratitude, because when you're stuck in some of these positions, gratitude could be impossible for you at that time. That is just the reality. But my advice to you is, A, give yourself grace, because we're all human. This too shall pass. And find some help and get yourself that help, because you deserve it. And then at the end of the day, hopefully you come out the other side and you see the opportunity to grow in that challenge. And I wish the best for you in getting through those struggles. So I wanted just to talk through the 5 challenging realities of gratitude. And hopefully this podcast just helps take another look at gratitude, again, from a different angle, because it's not always just as easy as, changing your life, kicking yourself into this gratitude mindset and everything is sunshine and roses. No, there are challenges with it. It's not necessarily the easy path, but at the end of the day, it can make profound impacts in your life. And that's all I got for you guys today. I hope this was a helpful episode. If you enjoyed it, I would be so grateful. We'll go back to practicing gratitude. I'm grateful for you guys being here today listening, and I'd be so grateful if you leave a quick rating or review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast now. Love you guys so much. If you're listening to this before the holiday, hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy your holiday season. If after, you're going to have another one coming up in the next 12 months. So hope you have a great Thanksgiving then, but hope you're enjoying whatever season of life that you're in. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you again next week. Hey guys, one other thing that I almost forgot to call out. If you are interested in taking advantage of some upcoming Black Friday specials that we're going to be offering, make sure you go over to millennialmm.com and register for or sign up for our email list so that you get any notifications of anything's coming. I know that with our vision and goal setting course, there may be a special coming out there and some other cool offers coming your way. So make sure that you go and you sign up for the email list to get notified when that's up and live, or check out the website on Black Friday and get the deals. Deals. All right, later, guys.